Hey guys, welcome. Game development is hard. This is not disputed by anyone. You'll hear developers talk all the time about how hard game development is, both technically and emotionally. And I just want to be real with you guys and have a conversation about why game development is so hard. Even though we all have our own individual goals and projects that we're working on, we're all fighting the same battles. And my goal with this video is to validate you and hopefully shed a little bit of positive light on some of the harder aspects of game development. If you're a developer, then you are sinking your blood, sweat, and tears into your game. When you're not working on it, you're thinking about working on it. Even when you're in the shower, you're not actually there in the shower. You're trying to figure out how to solve problems or how to fix some sort of bug. Working on the game has become such a huge part of your daily life that your emotions are attached to the game as well. I've talked about this before, but a large part of your identity is actually wrapped up in the game that you're working on. You want to make the best game that you possibly can, but your identity is attached to this buggy, half-finished, broken piece of crap, basically. And somehow you're supposed to go through your day feeling good about yourself and your work when you've been working on your project for like months, even years, and it's still barely even in a playable state. Every human on this planet wants to feel significant and like they're going to leave some sort of mark and that they're great at something. And if you can relate to this, then it basically means that your game is essentially your legacy. Well, that's a lot of pressure to be putting on a project. As a game developer, you're going to have all kinds of aspects of your game already worked out in your head. Getting those visions from your mind and turning them into something concrete that someone can play, that's another matter entirely. It's also human nature to compare our work and ourselves to others. This is really hard to avoid, and it's likely going to make you feel like crap. And as a game developer, you actually should be playing other games as often as possible to keep those creative juices flowing. But the flip side of this is that some part of you is going to be looking at these polished and completely finished games and comparing it to your own unfinished game. And unless your project is close to being published, then the comparison doesn't even make sense. The game you're playing likely has multiple polish passes on it. It already went through bug fixing and patches, and all sorts of work has gone into it. And your game isn't even complete enough to have crossed those benchmarks yet. You want to play other games to feel inspired, not to feel intimidated. So try to get inspired and try not to let yourself compare your game to other games you're playing. I don't believe that as a game developer, there ever comes a point where you just know everything. You know how to animate everything perfectly. You know how to craft a robust crafting system. You know how to create a shader for that one specific laser beam and make the perfect particle system for that spell and design a really smart AI for your enemies. Whatever it is, there's a million examples. When I'm watching CodeMonkey or Jason Wyman, two Unity developers with a lot of experience in the industry, and they make by far some of the best tutorials out there, link to their channels are in the description below. But when I watch guys like that, I am tempted to believe that they literally know how to do everything from memory. I mean, look at all the videos that they've made. They have a tutorial for virtually any scenario you can possibly think of. And yet, I specifically remember CodeMonkey in one of his videos talking about how much prep time goes into his tutorial videos and how much research he does and how even the most advanced and experienced developers still have to Google things. They still have to research things and they still have to look things up. I really appreciated him sharing that. It actually made me feel a lot better as a developer. The fact is, game dev is hard because of how much there is to learn. And because of how much there is to learn, you're going to feel like a beginner for a really, really long time that doesn't know what they're doing. And it's not fun to feel that way. I find the internet to be a dangerous place for my self-esteem. That would make a good bumper sticker. But I watch a lot of game dev content online, and specifically for tutorials or more technical stuff, I will get drawn into the comments section. And I'll be reading comments from someone talking about a specific programming pattern and why no one should ever use it, and they will literally list out like 12 different paragraphs describing in detail why that coding pattern should never be used. Now, Despite the fact that this is some random stranger on the internet and they weren't even talking to me, I'm just reading their comment, I will walk away wondering if they were right. And then that makes me think about what I don't know about that specific coding pattern they were talking about. Now all of a sudden I'm viewing this stranger on the internet as some sort of expert and myself as the beginner, just because they needed to vent about something for reasons that may or may not be valid. Honestly, let me know, am I crazy? Am I the only person that feels this way when they read those types of comments? Or do I just have self-esteem problems? Anyway, that's just one little example. With the nature of game dev being the way that it is, whether you're working in the industry as a professional, as an employee somewhere, or you're an indie making your own games, either way, you're going to be spending a lot of time on the internet. Specifically, you're going to be on YouTube following tutorials or watching design videos and things like that. And people tend to be drawn towards the negative more than the positive. That's unfortunate, but that's kind of just the way that it is. And because of that, you're going to see a lot of negativity being used to draw you into watching a video. Now, the crappy thing is, whether you watch the video or not, that negative thumbnail, if it did its job well, it's going to stick in your mind and you're going to walk away wondering whether you're doing something wrong or not. Titles like, stop doing these 3 things right now, or you've been using the Unity animator all wrong, or why you'll fail unless you do these 4 things. Those titles, they're brilliant because they're just clickbaity enough to make you want to watch them, because that makes you ask yourself questions like, what am I doing wrong? Now you have to watch the video to find out. And nothing against creators who title their videos that way. We've made videos with those types of names. They're just using psychology to their advantage to create more popular videos with better click-through rates. It's smart. The unfortunate side effect of this is that you are constantly being bombarded by all of these videos that are making you ask yourself, even if it's just subconsciously, what do they know that I don't? What secret do they have that I need? And if you're not aware of that, it can breed self-doubt. The truth of the matter is, and I can say this because I'm a content creator, we barely know what we're doing, okay? We have just as many challenges, struggles, and hair-pulling frustrating moments as you do. You are not alone. Far from it. Everyone is experiencing the same struggles that you are right now. If you're enjoying the video, then please give it a like. It really helps our channel grow and reach more people, and we really appreciate it. Thank you. I know this doesn't apply to everyone, but I feel confident in saying that most game devs or aspiring game devs are self-taught these days. And I actually feel like being self-taught is much more effective than being taught by somebody else. You can learn at an accelerated pace when you're self-taught because you can cater to your own learning style, but it comes with a cost. There's probably going to be some holes in your knowledge. This is definitely the case with me. I am pretty good at creating pretty complex things, and yet there are some really basic things that I have struggled with, like making a proper player jump. I hacked together a jump for a game jam a while back, and that's kind of been carried forward into all of my current projects, but it doesn't hold up in a lot of situations, and honestly, it just needs to be redone, and it makes me feel stupid. Now, I know that I'm not stupid. The fact is I'm self-taught, and there are just some holes in my knowledge, and this can make some aspects of game development more challenging. I don't know any other industry that is as complicated as this one, where people consume that entertainment medium, and then they're like, yep, I've decided I want to make one of those, and I'm going to do it completely by myself. Honestly, it's insane if you think about it. I love movies. Love them. That does not mean I want to go out and make my own movie all by myself. But for some reason with video games, this has become a thing where one person or a small team of people, they'll come together to create something that has tens of thousands of moving pieces that all need to fit together. This is not natural for humans. We like immediate results because you get that dopamine that floods into your brain and it makes you feel good. You don't get that steady dopamine drip when you're working on the same game for 3, 4, 5 years. It dries up. At first, you will, okay? Don't get me wrong. Starting a new project is so much fun. But there does come a point where that excitement becomes less and less, and now you feel like you have to force yourself to work on it sometimes. This is why I like to focus on my daily habits rather than my overall goal of making a video game. Obviously, that is my goal, but I try really hard not to think more than just a few steps ahead of where I currently am. Because honestly, it's mentally and emotionally really difficult to look further than that. The scope is just too overwhelming. If you are a human being and you want to create some sort of artistic or creative thing, you are going to experience resistance towards working on that thing. Something deep inside of you does not want you to work on it, and it will show up as frustration or laziness or procrastination and things like that. This is because deep down, you don't want your art to be judged. Being judged is a huge fear that every human being shares. It runs really deep because of how we evolved. Back in tribal days, you needed to fit in with the rest of the tribe because being on your own meant death. You needed other people to survive, and you needed to be accepted as part of the tribe. And this is carried forward as a massive fear of judgment for people today. It's just you wanting to fit in and avoid criticism. Obviously, on the surface, you want to finish your game. That's why it's your goal to make a game. But your subconscious wants to protect you from judgment. And so it's going to find ways to keep you from working on your game, like procrastination. I honestly don't know if that ever stops. I just know that in order to be the kick-ass game developer that I want to be, I have to battle technical challenges like programming, emotional challenges like feeling like my game isn't good enough, and subconscious challenges that want to protect me from being judged. Let us know down below why you find game development so hard. I'd love to hear your thoughts.